Okay, so I'm Joe, he's Nick, and you are listening to the Nick and Joe Show. Live,
or at least you're trying to.
Live from the Think Radio Broadcast Center in Canada's national capital of Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. North America, right? Oh, we did this earlier. North America.
Western Hemisphere.
And previously a charter member of the free world. But we'll get to that eventually. We might not.
Third Rock from the Sun.
We may not. Oh, that's a great show. That is like one of the funny. Have you ever seen it?
No.
Okay, you have to watch it, Nick. Third Rock from the Sun. Yeah, it is. It is probably the funniest show that I've seen. It's now. It's at least 20 years old now, but it is so funny. And you know John Lithgow?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's known for pretty serious roles and all that. Well,
right.
John Lithgow is one of the stars of it, and he is funny in capital letters. It's a great show. You got to watch it. So there it is. Okay. What are we talking about here? Okay, we got a lot of stuff to cover tonight, Nick. It's like the world is just going upside down, and I just don't know what to make of it anymore. Last week, or a couple of weeks ago, recently anyway, Nick, we did a show on a court case. The UK, a high court in the United Kingdom, had ruled that youth under 16 and even 16 and 17-year-olds couldn't simply be trusted to give proper consent for for receiving puberty blockers if they were suffering from gender dysphoria. There was a clinic that was basically prescribing puberty blockers on a regular basis in the United Kingdom, and there were a couple of people who had gone through treatment for gender dysphoria at this clinic, and they sued the clinic, and basically because they were saying, look, we were too young to understand the consequences of taking these drugs. As a consequence of taking these drugs, we decided that we would go into further treatment. In one case, a girl had a double mastectomy, and anyway, long and the short of it is that she sued the clinic because she said, they were taking consent from me, but I was too young to really understand what was going on when they started with these puberty blockers. And in this clinic was giving them as early as 10, 11, 12 years old, and the court agreed with her. The court said, look, a 16-year-old, even a 16-year-old can't be relied on to give informed consent because they don't understand what all of this stuff is. So we thought that was kind of a landmark case, and I indeed it was. It's gotten some exposure in different places around the world, but now apparently there is a group of activists. I don't know if I want to call them transgender activists or whomever, who are now apparently saying, no, the court in England was wrong, although they may not explicitly be referring to the case that we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, Nick. But what they essentially are saying is that what we should be doing is going the other direction. Forget about informed consent. We should be giving all children puberty blockers.
Yeah, they say in the article, which you can find on Post Millennial, that not using puberty blockers is child abuse. And I'm sorry, this gets wilder and wilder every single day. And the more I read this stuff, the more, this is one of the, this is also, there's another element to this I never thought of until about now. And that is that we have a platform in our social circles called social media. And that gives a platform to anybody with the most wild, crazy, stupid ideas, a place to actually say them, and some people will actually take them seriously. This is why people say the internet's a dangerous and dark and dangerous place, because you get people like this given a platform that if the social media didn't exist, would never have the courage to stand on a soapbox on a corner and and trumpet this stuff. It just wouldn't happen. So a lot of this stuff comes out of a corner of the net where retrobates and sick people live, and they want to put out her caption, by the way, get this, what she goes by online is Xena, adult demon female. Adult demon female? Really? We're supposed to take her seriously?
Xenia.
Yeah, Xenia, however you say it.
Right.
But I find that the story is as much about that as it is about the foolishness of this, as the British court pointed out last week, or when we talked about it last week, of allowing what are basically children. I mean, children cannot drink until they're, depending on the jurisdiction, somewhere between 18 and 21 years old, wherever they are. You cannot join the military without your parents' consent until you're 18. Certainly in Canada. I don't know about other jurisdictions, but certainly in Canada. If you want to join, let's say the Canadian Army or the Canadian Navy or whatever, you have to be, if you're going to be 17, you have to have your parents' consent. So to make those kinds of decisions, which are serious decisions, to join the military is a serious decision. But at the same time, it's not nearly as serious as a completely life-altering course of events that can, change the way you perceive yourself for the rest of your life. That's about as basic as it gets. And it's tin pot nutcases like this Xenia girl, who get a platform and get to spout this stuff, hiding behind their computer screen. And if they don't like the comments, they can either lash back with nothing but silly sarcasm or, acidic attacks on people they don't know, or they can just get up and walk away. There's no consequence, really, to what they say online. And, Joseph, I don't know if you've ever thought about it this way, but I am getting fed up with every freak of the week, and I say that with all due respect to real freaks, having a platform they don't deserve and didn't earn.
Well,
and aren't willing to stand up and defend in public.
Well, this Xenia apparently testified at the Chelsea Manning trial. Chelsea Manning, of course, being the American Army, the American soldier. I can't remember what rank he was. That was charged with divulging releasing confidential information. I think it might have been to Wikipedia, not Wikipedia, but WikiLeaks or whatever. So anyway, for some reason she was called to testify at his trial when he wanted to become transgender, and I don't know. So I'm going to give her just a teensy bit of credit here, and not because you were saying, referring to people who don't want to talk publicly and they hide behind social media, and that is for sure a problem. There's no question about it. In this case, she's prepared to be to be public, but I guess two things come to mind immediately when I read her profile and I read her postings, etc. The first thing is what's really interesting is she is actually a he. He was born a male, and then later on, as a young teenager, came out as a gay male. Only later on to discover that really he wasn't a gay male, but he was a what was the term? What's the term that they use? Hang on a second. I'm looking it up because it's a particular term. Good grief! I'm going through here. Trans woman. That's what it was. A trans woman in 2011. So that was years after. So So he was born in 1989 in Chicago, became aware of her / whatever sexuality as a gay male at an early age, and then, quote, this is from the bio, after years identifying as a gay male, Zinnia finally came to the conclusion that she was actually a trans woman in 2011 and started a romantic relationship with her close friend and lesbian, Heather McNamara. Okay, and it says here in the bio that Zinnia is currently in a polyamorous relationship with Heather McNamara, this lesbian friend, and another trans woman named Penny. While she was raised Catholic, I'm just reading from the story, Zinnia claims that she, quote-unquote, defected from the church in 2010 and took on the moniker Queen of Atheism. So, and she currently calls herself a secular trans feminist. Anyway, so, it's hard to follow all of the curves and twists and turns in the gender saga of Zinnia. But, look, I don't want to be offensive. We don't want to offend anyone purposely here. People they make their choices for whatever reasons they make. But this is what I find the most fascinating about this story, Nick, and that is, and for sure, by the way, we're going to get into trouble about this podcast. But what I find the most fascinating is, okay, I mean, I think most people look at this and they go, okay, this is kind of bunk. Okay, let's not beat around the bush. This is bunk, okay? I'm sure she feels all the emotions she feels, etc. But to systematize it and to put it into some kind of a I don't know what we want to call it. That itself is an issue. But what I've digressed a little bit here. What I find the most fascinating here, quite frankly, Nick, is that, if not that long ago, 5-6 weeks ago, certain media outlets, credible media outlets like the New York Post, were reporting that Hunter Biden, the son of then presidential candidate Joe Biden, was under investigation for his possible money laundering and other issues surrounding his relationship with the Chinese. And when people tried to post that, including, by the way, the New York Post, were posting that story on social media platforms like Twitter were actually blocking them because it was a false story, quote unquote. Now, we know that the story was true, okay, subsequently. But here, I can't get over social media blocking that kind of story or blocking exchanges between people who are concerned that there might have been fraud in the last presidential election in November, as because these are fake stories or whatever you want to call them. Okay, but they don't take any action on something like this that can have, as you've quite rightly pointed out, Nick, long-lasting, in fact, permanent and profound effects on young people, including children, who are exposed to these ideas, and they get all kinds of crazy notions, and before you know it, they're going and seeing doctors, and at this clinic in England, in any event, they were being subjected to these hormone treatments blocking puberty from a very early age. It's